Hello everyone, my name is Rafal and I would like to welcome you to my YouTube channel. In today's video, I would like to show you a couple of very inexpensive concepts, how to create this very interesting red background for your headshots. Those concepts are extremely cheap. You can get them for literally around $10 each. So you don't really have to spend tons of money on some very expensive professional backgrounds such as paper roll, or you can also purchase some very expensive fabrics. I'm going to show you how to create this for literally nothing. And also those concepts, they're extremely easy to put together, so you don't have to spend hours, and also you can storage them afterwards. If you decided in near future use them again, you can storage them in very small compartment because they don't take that much space. So the first one I want to show you, I use cardstock paper, and I bought them in Michael's. This is like a local art supply store. They're really popular in Canada and US. I'm not sure if those stores are available in Europe or any other countries, but if you go to any art supply store, I'm sure they're available. Also, you can buy those on Amazon. They, I think, even cheaper over there. So first of all, whenever you're gonna go with that type of concept, make sure that the paper cards you're using, they are extremely matte. This is one of those elements you have to look after, because if you buy those glossy ones, you're gonna get a lot of hot spots. So the more matte it is, it's gonna absorb and reflect light a little bit better. When it comes to the size, I bought those 12 by 12 inches ones, and there's about 25 sheets. So in this case, I literally use clear tape to glue them into my wall, and I did a little bit of sloppy job on my part. I should pay a little bit more attention to make sure they put nicely together, because if you're gonna do the same kind of approach that I did, I was a little bit in the rush and there is some pieces sticking out. I didn't glue them very tightly. So the more flat surface you are able to create, so the background's gonna look a little bit better, much more cleaner, and you're not gonna have to spend a lot of time in Photoshop to kind of dealing with some of those shadows and some of those imperfections of the background. So there is definitely a little bit of work to make sure this whole thing looks nice and clean, and the better results you're gonna get with the actual background. So those 25 sheets fill up the entire background. The size of the background, you need about 2 meters wide and about 1.5 meter high. So that's the size of the background. And as I said, I stick them close to each other to create this one piece of background which reflect this really interesting red color. So in my case, I use my typical Rembrandt lighting, main light on the front, opposite side I have the kicker light, and also I use additional background light which I put behind my model, and the light was aimed towards the background to create this really interesting vignette to enhance this background. And that's pretty much everything. To put this background together took me literally 10 minutes tops to glue them. As I said, use clear tape to put this together, and in this case, I have really nice flat wall, which this whole thing was really easy to assemble. And as I mentioned before, if you want to reuse it, you can take this down fairly quickly. You can put those sheets together and you can storage this in a really small space. You don't need to buy this massive roll of papers, because those are take most of the time a lot of space, and they also extremely expensive. And also you can use different colors. They have endless amount of colors, so you can choose whatever color you like. If you want to go with blue, you want to go with green, you're going to go with brown, there are options available and you can customize it the way you like. So when it comes to the settings, I'm gonna put everything so you can just exactly see what settings I have from my main light, from my kicker light, and also for my background light. And the same when it comes to the settings of my camera. I'm gonna basically put this whole thing together so you know exactly what I've done. And I've done a couple of shoots. In this case, we did some creative headshot session. We used some other elements to kind of spice it up, this image, but the main thing was to create this really nice red, very saturated background. So those are the final images. This is before retouching and this is after retouching. So as you probably can see, there is a little bit of work to make sure that this background looks nice and solid and there is no any distraction from it. And I'm gonna create separate video to show you exactly how you can retouch those stuff. It doesn't take much. You can literally within minutes fix some of those deficiencies of the background. So as I said before, the more precisely you put those squares together, the better results you're gonna get. And as I said before, I did extremely sloppy job, and I should put a little bit more work into it to basically save a little bit of time in post-production. But again, it's doable and you can fix it fairly quickly, so it's not big of a deal. The next concept I would like to show you, I use basic felt, and also make sure whatever you're gonna buy one of those, they have to be matte, because the more glossy fabric or material you're gonna use, the more reflective it's gonna be, and it's gonna create this really unwanted highlights. So make sure it's fairly matte. And in this case, it was perfect because I had to buy a couple sheets. So basically their size was 1 meter by 1 meter. So I need 2 of them to put this whole thing together. And the same way I put this whole thing on the wall, use clear tape, glue them into the wall. This whole thing was ready to go. So in this case, you can literally put this whole thing even quicker than the paper because those sheets are much bigger, which you put them right beside each other and yeah, they're ready to go. So the one little element which I want to point it out, when I actually unfold them, they had a lot of creases. I had to iron this whole thing, but this fabric is really easy to clean up, and I use just on average temperature, and I just like use a little bit of water to create some of those parts which they have those creases and stuff. I iron it within few minutes and they were like straight, really nice, and then I just glued them into the wall and they were ready to go. So another element which I pointed out before, make sure this whole thing is as flat as possible. So in this case, I put clear tape on each corner just to stretch out the fabric a little bit so it's really nice and solid. And the same thing, you can put this up fairly quickly, and the same thing, you can take it down, fold it, and it's not gonna use too much space, so you don't have to have some big sheets of fabric. You just need 2 of them, and then you can really use them wisely, especially for headshots. I know it's a different story when you're shooting portraits or full body shots. You need probably more of those, but for the headshots, you basically need 2 of them, and they're like $7 each, which in my opinion, $14 for the entire background is very inexpensive, and you don't have to spend tons of money. So in this case, I used again my Rembrandt lighting. My main light was on the left hand side, kicker was on the right hand side, and I also in this case put additional light for the backgrounds. So the light was right behind my subject, aiming towards the background, just to create this really nice vignette and also bring some color, because if you don't use additional light, this background might turn a little bit more darker. So depends how bright you want. You have to just adjust your power or just move the light closer or further away from the background. And also in this case, because this fabric is kind of fluffy and absorbs the light really nicely and reflects this really rich saturated red color. And the same like paper, there were different kinds of colors which you can use whatever you like. There's a lot of option out there. And the same thing, I bought this in Michael's, which is, as I said, the art supply store, but you can get those on Amazon as well for even cheaper. So if you're looking for get this and you're planning to do something similar, I would highly recommend it to look at Amazon, because you can really get this for much better price, and also you can choose some different colors. So this is the shots we received. We added a little bit of fan just to kind of get this nice interesting image, and that was before the retouching. As you see, there is way less work on fixing it, and making sure this whole thing looks solid and it looks like a one piece. So the better job you do to putting this on the wall and stretching it up a little bit and make sure it's very flat, the better results you're gonna get. I hope you like those images. I really like this very saturated red color. I hope you like this concept. I think this is good option for those photographers who trying to do different type of background. And again, I really like the fact that it's extremely inexpensive and you can choose different colors. It's really easy to put together, and you can also storage this thing. It's not gonna take a lot of space, and you're not gonna break your bank account for purchasing those type of backgrounds, and that can give you some interesting variety of your images, and you can make those images really stand out from the crowd. Especially most of the time nowadays we see only the white, the gray, and the black type of backgrounds for headshots. So if you want to stand out and do something different, I think that would be interesting option for the type of colors you're using for your background. So if you have any additional questions, please feel free to contact me. I'll be more than happy to answer any additional questions you might have. Please feel free to reach out to me. I'll be more than happy to answer your questions. So thank you for watching. Stay tuned, and I'll chat with you guys very soon. Bye-bye.